This is Jeffery B. Geisener, founder of the Jewish Culture and Holocaust, October 7th, and Stand Against Hate International Communities. Thanks for joining me for my latest film, Walking on Blood, with special guests Betty Goodfriend, Dina Baitler, and Roza Golenstein, survivors from the killing pits and ghettos of Lithuania during the Holocaust, 1940 to 1945. You'll experience how the Lithuanians, not just the Nazis, killed tens of thousands of Jews and were eager collaborators when the Nazis invaded the country. You also understand how the current government of Lithuania continues to prop up World War II figures like Jonas Noriega, who personally directed the killing of more than 10,000 Jews prior and after the Nazi invasion. You see monuments and plaques everywhere around government buildings and offices during the filming, 2023, treating these men as heroes and not the killers they were. One of these is Jonas Noriega, a word of caution and a trigger warning. Content includes Holocaust material and scenes for mature audiences only of 16 and older. Some scenes may trigger intergenerational survivor trauma or PTSD issues, so view with caution. Please help us share this film widely and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You will be automatically notified of new releases. We must all do our part to counter Holocaust denial and revisionism, while also standing against hate of any kind. I hope that you will find Walking on Blood informative. It provides valuable lessons that we all need to hear now. We pray for our soldiers in the IDF and our brothers and sisters around the world fighting to keep Israel and the Jews safe.
We will name our killer Jonas Noriega. Jonas Noriega, hero of the Lithuanian government, the world leaders in Holocaust lies. But this time, their lies won't work.
The best place to start exploring Yiddish culture in Vilnius is 7 kilometers out of town in the suburb of Porat. It was here between 1941 and 1944 that German Nazis and their Lithuanian allies murdered 100,000 people in what is now known as the Porat massacre. 70,000 of the victims were Jewish.
Magleite in a small town outside of Kovno, or in the Lithuanian language, Kaunas, Kaunas, born in 1927, February 18th, 1927. I'm the seventh of a family of 9 children. We were an observant Jewish family, and we were taught the Bible and how to live by it with respect and truth, and know who you are. Communists. There is an old saying in Russia, a man stands there in front of the mirror to shave himself, and he says, "Who is the spy, you or I?" Everybody spied on everybody. And that was terrible. So, what happens? Stalin signed with Hitler that they are not going to attack each other and that they are going to be good neighbors. Well, that didn't last very long. The Russians marched in June 1940. June 1941, 22nd of June, the Germans attacked Lithuania. At that point, I was ready for the high school at my age, and there was only the Lithuanian high school, and I knew what to expect, so did my mother. And there was one Yiddish Jewish school left in Kaunas. And being that my oldest brother and my older sister lived in Kaunas, they didn't come back with us to the village, they lived in the big city. So mother said, go to Kaunas, and there you'll be able to sign up in that school. Sometimes you wonder what destiny is. What did it mean, the change in 1 week? And as I was in Kaunas, the war broke out. The Nazis attacked. I stayed with my sister and my brother. When we found out that we are really in great danger, we packed up a few things and we took the road. Everybody said, if you'll get into Russia, nobody's going to kill you there. And we started to run towards the border, which would have had to take us to Vilnius, which is the border of Belarus, Ukraine. And as we came closer to Vilnius, about 50 kilometers or so, we saw some people coming back. And we asked them, why are you coming back? They said the Nazis had a different plan. They circled around Lithuania. So they were at the Russian border before we were. So we got stuck with tens of thousands of Russian soldiers, and we couldn't get out. So slowly, with all the troubles, we started to walk back. And as we walked on the highway to go back to Kaunas, the planes would lower themselves real low and shoot at us. And a lot of people were killed like this way. And we went back to Kaunas. We come back. There's no connection with my family. There was a 5th column in Lithuania who worked with the Nazi Gestapo, that they will help them occupy and take over Lithuania, because Hitler promised the Lithuanians that they'll be independent when they come. But of course it wasn't so. So in the meantime, they started to kill the Jews. The Lithuanian civilians started to kill the Jews. Why not? They can take this chair from them. They can take something else from them. So, even before the Germans gave them an order, they killed thousands of Jews. Lithuania was a small country of about 3 million people. Almost every 10th person was a Jew. 98% of this Jewish population is gone now. They killed 98% of their Jewish population. The Germans, with the great help of Lithuanians and Ukrainians, there was a group of Ukrainians who were like an army, and they had a little black sign on the corner of their military coat, and they would be together with the Germans at the killing brigade. And in 1941, August, we were told to pack up, get out of our homes in Kaunas, and go to the suburb across the bridge, and that's what became the Jewish ghetto. Outside, on the hills around this suburb, in that part of Lithuania, there used to be a fort for soldiers. Now it became the killing grounds. They would bring in Jews even from as far as Austria, and they would take them there and kill them in pits. And we used to hear in the ghetto, we used to hear many times the shooting and the marching of the people. In the ghetto, it was my sister, my brother, my sister-in-law and I. We got a room together with friends, each little room for a family. And the ghetto we were closed in, and we were guarded by Lithuanian and German guards all around where the ghetto was, outside. The first thing that happened after we were told not to go anywhere, we will not be able to get through, and not to come to the barbed wire, because we'll be shot. They started to give out orders. First order: we need doctors for this and this part. We'll take you out to work. We need professors from college in this and this field. May all those men come and register. Well, the next day we found 500 men signed up from that caliber, and most of them were hanged. We saw them, and then some of them were killed even before they hanged them. To explain how that can happen from such a highly cultured country is beyond my understanding, and I'm sure many millions of people couldn't understand that.
לקראת ערב הגענו למקום שם לפנר. ואז ראינו שם שיש כבר בורות. הבורות היו כבר מוכנות. וברור שידענו שזה לא, שאנחנו לא נשארים פה, שאנחנו לא עובדים. הם עקפו אותנו מסביב, זאת אומרת, עם הכלבים. לקחו אותנו באמצע, ומסביב עם כלבים עמדו על ידינו. אמרו לנו להתפשט ולשים את הדברים במקום אחד. כל אחד התחיל להתפשט. אני התפשטתי ולא לגמרי. אמרו די. נשארתי עם שמלה ונעליים. הסבתא והדודה שהייתה איתי, הם היו צריכים להתפשט לגמרי. ואז לקחו 10 נשים, כל 10 נשים, ציוו ללכת לבור, למד על יד הבור, ושם היו כבר האוטומטים, זה הכלי הריגה, עם האלה שישבו שם. היינו צריכים לעמוד 10 אנשים, הם היו, וזה היה על יד הבור, ואנחנו, וירו בהם, והם נפלו. אני הייתי כמעט בין האחרונים. ואז הגעתי לבור, ירו בנו, ונפלתי. כבר הבור היה מלא. אני נפלתי בקצה, שהיו כבר הרבה אנשים, ואני הייתי ממש למעלה, בקצה. ואז הסתכלתי וראיתי הכל, זאת אומרת, ישבתי, זאת אומרת, התהפכתי איך שלו, והתיישבתי על המתים. הרבה אנשים הם פגעו, ויש אנשים שלא פגעו, ובגלל זה כל הזמן בבור היו בכי, וכל אחד, היו ממש איום ונורא, אי אפשר לסבול היה בכי, וביקשו, זאת אומרת שרחמים, ובאו אחר כך את הנאצים, ועוד פעם הם שמעו שיש אנשים עוד חיים, אז הם באו וירו בהם. 7. בת 7 הייתי.
I was at the edge of the grave 3 times, no, 4. Which time was the closest? This. This was the end. It was Christmas Eve, the 24th of December, 1941. I wasn't about to run away. I was an old woman, 11 years of age, and an old woman. I was unhappy. I couldn't understand what was going on. It was terrible, and it doesn't leave me. Sometimes I see this massacre in my dreams. We were stood beside the grave, machine guns started shooting, and I fell. In the night I crawled out from among the corpses. The killers, the white ribbons, were celebrating, drinking schnapps. They were celebrating beside the pit, beside their victims. They were singing. It was Christmas Eve. It was December the 24th. I have to say the truth. I didn't see any Germans at the grave, only Lithuanians.
A cluster of overgrown mounds on disused land marks the site of a massacre. Here, outside the city of Kaunas, Lithuania, lie the remains of an estimated 5,000 Jews. Over 70 years ago, they were rounded up, marched to this spot, and killed by their own countrymen, says Ruta Vanagaita. But such things have not been talked about in Lithuania before now. Vanagaita is a best-selling author, and she's written a book on Lithuanians' complicity in the Holocaust.
5,000 citizens of Lithuania killed by another couple of hundred of our citizens is not an important part of history. It's the first mass murder site in Lithuania ever. So it is worth of just this kind of stick and in the private territory, and the feasts are being organized there. It just says a lot of bad things about my country and about the attitude to the people who were killed.
On the outskirts of Vilnius, a local resident recalls his grandmother's account of what she witnessed. Nearly 2,000 Jews were murdered here.
My grandmother told me that they drove the Jews past that pond over there. Then they collected their valuables, their glasses, earrings, wedding rings, and so on, and they led them into the forest and made them line up. There were women carrying babies among them. Then came the machine gun fire, ta-ta-ta, and they all fell into the pit. My grandmother told me the pit was as full of bodies as a bowl with soup. And who drove the Jews there? The Lithuanians, who else? There weren't any Germans there, maybe one or two standing off to one side.
Nazi Germany carries the principal responsibility for the Holocaust, but how great was the complicity of the Lithuanians? This is the subject of a bitter debate currently raging in the country. Vanagaita spent half a year scouring the archives in the Lithuanian capital Vilnius. She discovered that her own family had been involved in the mass murder of Lithuanian Jews.
I realized that, my grandfather, who was a hero, was anti-Soviet and suffered for Lithuania, also was not, I wouldn't say the perpetrator or the killer, but he was one of the people who made this massacre possible. So it means that my country's history, the victims and heroes could have been, participants of the murders as well.
In the summer of 1941, German forces occupied Lithuania, but after 2 years of foreign rule by the Soviet Union, many Lithuanians welcomed the invaders as liberators. This banner says, "Lithuania serves the Führer." The Nazis had no trouble finding collaborators. Whether it was 1,000 or 20,000 is hotly disputed. But there can be no doubt that with their help, over 90% of Lithuania's Jews, about 200,000 people, died in the Holocaust. Ruta Vanagaita is not afraid to face her critics, not even the right-wing extremists, as they march through Kaunas. On the internet, Vanagaita has been reviled as a traitor.
You say the Lithuanians liked killing Jews. I doubt that.
No, I didn't write that.
Well, I haven't read the book.
That's how it is. Nobody's read the book, but everybody thinks I want to harm Lithuania.
Vanagaita says she intends just the opposite. She wants Lithuania to face up to its past. A first step could be to publish a list naming the Lithuanian collaborators that the Historical Institute compiled in the fall of 2016 after years of controversy. Efram Zuroff recites the Mourner's Kaddish, a Jewish prayer for the dead. His great-uncle was among those murdered in Lithuania. As director of the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Jerusalem, Zuroff is one of the principal Nazi hunters. He's been supporting Vanagaita's efforts for years and pressuring the Lithuanian government to admit to the country's role in the Holocaust.
Lithuania is full of places like this. This is no different than dozens and dozens and dozens, more than 200 such places. Beautiful forests. In the middle of a beautiful forest, all of a sudden you have a mass murder site.
The Jews were never considered, our citizens, people like us, that the memory should be respected. They were, they deserved what they got. That is it. I mean, people wouldn't say it openly, but why the places are neglected, never visited, and you see that nobody even give a thought that these people are there. They were not brought to nice cemeteries. They are there in 5-6 layers.
Ruta Vanagaita and Efram Zuroff say the situation is unacceptable. They intend to carry on until Lithuania is ready to face its past.
Lithuania's capital, Vilnius, is celebrating its 700th anniversary this year. Now, much of that history was created by its Jewish community. Vilnius was long known as a center of Jewish culture and learning. lending its name to the great 18th century rabbinical scholar, the Vilna Gaon, and earning a name as the Jerusalem of the North. But it is also a scene of Jewish persecution and tragedy, culminating in the Nazi liquidation of the Vilnius ghetto in September 1943. So this week, Lithuania and Jewish leaders also marked that somber anniversary. And among those who took part in marking that there as a guest was Professor Dina Porat, emeritus in the Department of Jewish History at Tel Aviv University. She joins us now from the town of Ramat Sharon in Israel. Professor Porat, thank you for joining us. Well, tell us a little about going to Vilnius and how you see the significance that during this year of celebration of this, Lithuania also marked the anniversary of that tragedy of the Jewish ghetto there.
Yeah. Thank you for having invited me to speak about this really moving Memorial Week. I can call it a Memorial Week because near the Kovno ghetto, the ghetto in the city of Kovno, the killing site in the 9th Fort was a place a delegation of about 100 people who came from Israel, stayed, spoke, described again what happened to them, put flowers, etc. And then a walk during the Kovno ghetto. And then Vilnius, which you mentioned quite rightly, was the place called not only Jerusalem of the North, but the Jerusalem of Lithuania. A vibrant Jewish community, creative, with all political use, with all forms of writing, creating, etc., lived there for hundreds of years and was executed, one may say, in the summer of 1941, and then its end in the summer of 1943. So we went to Ponar, to the place near Vilna where the killing took place. And again, the prime minister came, ministers, ambassadors, flowers, speeches. I think I can say, that, sir, a minute before we started, just a minute ago, I got word from the Israeli ambassador in Lithuania to the effect that today and yesterday, the Lithuanian government decided to commemorate better the contribution of Lithuanian Jewry, to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism, to have mutual projects, to honor Jews who fought back in the ghettos of Lithuania, Vilna, Kovna, Shavli, and the others. So I feel a change.
Right.
I do feel a change. How there is 80 years have passed. There is a third generation. The third generation is more open to acknowledge what happened. It's not their fault.
Right.
It's not their fault. And they are open to acknowledge what happened, to confirm and I understand and face the fact that Lithuanians killed Jews.
Okay, well, let me ask you that, Professor Porat, because one of your fellow guests there, the Yad Vashem chairman, Danny Darian, spoke in Parliament. He did compliment Lithuania, just as you're doing now, but he also said Lithuania also has to, for example, stop the glorification of some of those men, similar to the story we saw about Ukraine before, some of those Lithuanians who collaborated with the Nazis and are still regarded as heroes by some in Lithuania.
I was present when he spoke, of course, and he's absolutely right. He also acknowledges the fact that there are steps, that there is a new generation, that they are being more open. But please understand that all over the East European region, once dominated by Soviet Russia, there is this problem that people who were anti-communists were on the other side pro-Nazis. And they fought the communists. So today, in the communist
Right.
era, they are considered heroes. But they were fighting with the Nazis and helping their plan to execute, to kill, murder all Jews. So Danny Dayan, chairman of Yad Vashem, told them point blank. He said, an anti-Semite cannot be considered a hero. And you cannot now have a monument for him in the main square of the city.
That if the Lithuanian government can get away with what it's doing now, there is no moral lesson to be derived from the Holocaust. If Lithuania can put up a statue of Jonas Noriega, then why can't Germany put up a statue of Adolf Eichmann? Do you think that's an exaggeration?
Michael, imagine sending your kid to Adolf Hitler High School. But in Lithuania, they send their kids to Noreika School. If a government can rewrite a genocide to say somebody else did it, the murderers are heroes, nobody saw anything, nobody knew anything, and get away with it, and it's a European government, then why would any other government say we're going to be held to account, so maybe we shouldn't perpetrate a genocide, or maybe we shouldn't do human rights violations because we could. They have, this is the clearest, most obvious case of Holocaust revisionism that exists. If this isn't addressed, why wouldn't every genocidal maniac do exactly the same thing when they know that they can get away with it?
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים, לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, השכיבנו